Hey Soul Fam, it's your host Amelia here, and I'm so pleased to have you today. And we are Just Unchained Souls, and it's time to exist in a realm where life can just flourish for you. Okay, and we're gonna get into some great sauce, some great juice, some great honey. All right, we're going to speak about the three main key elements you need to strengthen your discernment. Okay, and this is very vital for soul healing and spiritual growth generally, because you want to have clarity 99% of the time. Okay, and once you get a certain amount of clarity, it's really hard to not have that clarity in your life moving forward, you know? So this is a skill that's going to really catapult you into that next dimension with ease. Okay, and then when you're there, you're not going to be shaken up. You're not going to be afraid. You're not going to be confused. You are going to have clarity. And it's going to really allow you to stand on firm grounds. Okay, so we're going to get into those three main elements. We're going to break it down and we're going to get into some details. And then for those that are new to the channel, as you can already see, we get down to business. Okay, we get to the root of all, and we allow ourselves to really just grow into that full potential. Okay, so let's get into it. The number one thing that you need to really strengthen your discernment, soul fam, is, now this one, it should be a given. However, we're going to start with it. It's a clean diet. Okay, when you're really getting down to, the ball, and you need answers, and your time is, running short, you want to start to really clean up your diet. Okay, what that means is not go and just eat salads and fruits, although yes, obviously that's the goal. More importantly, just eating things that aren't hard to process overall, and not being heavy on the sugars, not being heavy. You want to clean yourself out. Some religions may know of it as like a fast, where you go without eating for a period of time, and it's similar. Okay, the purpose of it generally is to clean up some of that waste energy. Okay, and when you think about waste energy, just things that don't feed or fuel, we're gonna say a runner, right? Like if you were a coach for a track and field individual, and they have a long run coming up to, their diet is going to be real lean, things that they can burn fast so that they don't have to carry that weight in their body as they're running, right? As they're moving, as they're pushing. Same with needing that discernment. As you're pushing into that decision, as you're pushing into that next round, you are going to need to have that type of lightweight in your stomach, so that you're not just processing unnecessary energy. Nothing that's going to help fuel or feed something great. So what this means is, don't put yourself in a place where, I can't eat cookies. You know that diet place where you feel like you just restricted, and it makes you want it more. Instead, tell yourself, like, listen, we just gonna eat a clean diet for about 2-3 weeks. Those cookies, those cakes, those ice cream, those treats that you love, those greasy foods that you love, it's not going away forever. We just need to put a pause on it for about 15 to 30 days. And having that agreement with yourself, like, listen, 15-30 days, this is nothing. Okay, and having that conversation with yourself, so that you don't be focused on fighting that urge, because that urge is going to keep coming up, like sugar, grease, McDonald's, or whatever fun you like to kind of nibble in when you just chilling and enjoying life. Understand, like, hey, we're going to do that later. We're going to do that later. And the reason why you have that conversation like that is just for peace. That there's nothing wrong with this item. It's just not the time for it right now. And then your focus goes elsewhere, because now you're not counting calories. Now you're not worried about if I look fat in this outfit. Like, that takes off a lot of weight on top of the weight it puts in your body. It also takes off a lot of mental weight. Like, you don't even gotta worry about it. Like, listen, you've been eating great, so just no worries with that. Let's focus on making this decision and putting all of our attention to this decision right here. Okay? So, clean diet. No sodas, water if you can, no sugars. And long term, you'll see the benefit of just having that type of lifestyle. It's like, why am I putting all this in my body? You know? So all that'll come up later. However, when you're trying to strengthen your discernment and you need a moment, clean up your diet, so fam. Eat something that's going to bring you some motivation later. Like, later, you know, you gotta write a few emails. You gotta fill out a few applications. You gotta do a little bit of research. Even though it may seem like, all right, let me just do this real quick. It seems like a quick task. It takes a lot of energy. And we don't have that consciousness to it because it's on our fingertips. It's on our phones. We're like, oh, I'm gonna just get on my phone and just do that on my phone. And you think it's a quick task, and then you start getting sucked in, and you start realizing, okay, it's been an hour. It's been an hour. You've been spending an hour reading questions, getting answers, developing answers. All that is happening in the background, and you got to make sure you fuel yourself properly first. So you're not drained, or you're not doing a task as if you're annoyed. You know, like, let me just do this real quick. It shouldn't feel like that in this season. Okay? So, next. Secondly, isolation. If you're looking to really strengthen your discernment, so fam, isolation. So, there's two types of isolation, so fam. Let me break it down. There's spread the news, let everybody know you're in isolation, and then there's I'm in isolation on the low. You know, you don't even want people to know you in isolation. That's how much you enjoy isolation, that you just on the low in isolation. So let me tell you the two. One is everybody looking for you. Nobody can really get a hold of you. If they do get a hold of you, they not really getting no information out of you. You know, they talking to you, they hear your voice. They not really getting answers, you know? So they kind of can feel like, oh, she just moving funny, or she just, you get what I'm saying? They not really understanding that you just isolating yourself right now. It has nothing to do with them. And however, everybody kind of know, oh, leave her alone. She in isolation. You get what I'm saying? So that's the more news-wide isolation. Second is on the low isolation, right? So you kind of isolated, and you ain't letting everybody know you isolated, and you just playing it cool. You know, like you undercover. That's how I like to look at it. Like, I'm undercover isolation. So I'm going to just keep it brief with you. I'm being seen. I'm on the works. However, I got something that I'm working on the low, and I'm using my sneaky abilities in the right light, you know, because we all know how to be sneaky. We can easily sneak us a little Snickers when we ain't supposed to be, you know what I'm saying? We all have that trait. However, we're going to use it in the light, you know, so we're going to take it and we're going to isolate ourselves on the low. It's not nothing wrong. I ain't lying. I ain't got nothing to hide. I'm just in isolation right now because I know this is how it works peacefully in my world. You know, like everyone thinks everything is okay, which it is. Everything is okay. However, I don't really want to even tell you I'm in isolation because I don't want no red flags over and over in your head. I don't want to have no awkward conversation. I don't want you trying to change my mind. You get what I'm saying? Like, I'm just doing what I want to do in isolation, and I'm having a ball because Everybody don't even know I'm here, you know? And that takes a little bit more time to get to, because it's like when we start getting answers and we start moving, we want to share. It feels great to share. There's nothing wrong with sharing with the right ears, of course. You know, we wanted to share. We wanted to share. However, if you take the seed out the dirt too soon and bring it to the light, what happens? It's not ready. It's too soon. So we got to know the power of why we are in isolation. You know, why are we taking our time and growing this seed that we planted, that was given to us. You know, and so we taking our time and we just loving this seed, and we just showing up with it. We pampering it. We doing everything we can, and we staying real hush about it and making sure it's done correctly without the pressure of, okay, they know I'm in isolation, so they waiting to see a result. You know, and so the pressure of showing the result, showing the plant that grew. And when people know you're in isolation, you know they waiting, you know? And I feel like the pressure is a little bit heavier that way. So if you do it on the low and you ain't even, you know, rushing to show no result, that's the type of isolation that allows you to really take your time. Like, with no worries. Like, let me do this the way it needs to be done so that it's done correctly, and I don't have to look back and have any regrets, because I took my time and I was listening and I was showing up and I was taking my time and I was following the steps and I was taking care of myself in the midst, and I was still just multitasking at its best. Right? Multitasking as best. We love to kill two birds in one stone. You be like, I killed two birds in one stone? I did two things at one time? That's just like home run, rocket, like, yes, you know? And this is when your discernment starts to really strengthen up, because your connection is so tight that it's like you're literally existing in two realms at the same time, smoothly. You know, like when I say smoothly, I mean you've mastered the process so well that you are literally having a full conversation and you're fully present while still being fully present in the isolation mode. You know, you're not over giving yourself. You're not pulling yourself too thin. You're not draining yourself. You're not draining yourself out. Because oftentimes when we try to show up in two different places at one time, we haven't mastered that skill, and we've overgave ourselves in one area where we couldn't really show up the way we needed to show up. We didn't really deliver the way we needed to deliver. And when you put it into context, right, and even think about, you know, for me, for instance, showing up at the podcast, showing up at a recording, being able to show up, knowing what you're talking about, holding a full conversation, being relatable. You know what I'm saying? Like, just being there, and you're at your best. Not there, I'm tired, not there complaining, not there picking, not there just missing the mark, you know? And or if you have to show up to an event and you gotta meet with people, make sure you're meeting with the right people. You're having a confident conversation. You're not having a conversation and, you know, putting doubt in it throughout the whole time. Like, well, I hope I said that right, or I hope I did that right. No, you're sitting there like, oh, I know this is right. I know this is the moment. I know this is a line. I know this is an assignment. And going with that and taking it all the way home. You know, like, doing what's needed to be done. And in this process, oh fam, you are able to hear everything that you need to do and do it. And when changes come, like, for instance, because remember, we're talking about the spiritual side, right? So if something needs to be changed, like, okay, I know this is your routine. However, today we're going to add these 2 extra tasks, and you have the time to do it and not freak out. Okay? And being able to take on those tasks and be like, I completed it correctly. So how this looks like, say you was at a job, right? And your boss is just like, all right, I need this and this done by this time. Okay? And say you have a couple projects happening, right? And on a due date, boss come in like, all right, add this by the end of the day, have that done. And you take it in and you like looking at the clock and you looking at, you start looking at the work that needs to be done. And making sure that you can fulfill it. When you take on that role, you are gonna be like, all right, how can I do my best with this? You know what I'm saying? Like, how can I produce a result that's going to be needed and appreciated? And so in the spiritual world, when you're working and you're praying and you're working on the goal, if something gets dropped on you in the middle of the day, are you able to handle that situation and deliver a result that is spot on while still completing your other projects? Is what happens in this isolation. And then you're going to be monitored. Let me put you in there. I love to see y'all win. You're going to be monitored. The stress level is going to be monitored. Like, okay, how did she handle the stress? How did she respond when anger came into her realm? How is her anger level? How did she understand the energy around her? How did she stay in tune? Like, this is when the lens zooms in on your mood, on your attitude. Cause when you in it, so fam, you really forget. You forget for a minute, like like, oh, okay, hold on. This you get what I'm saying? You forget that a test is happening when it's happening. And you remember after. I think we get what's the word? It's like, okay, we're gonna turn amnesia up a little bit so she can forget that, she's being watched and things like that. And it's not to be like, oh, she's being watched like a creep was. It's like, no, she's being watched so she could be promoted. And in order for us to promote her or him, excuse me, I know I got a both male and female audience. If this person is asking for a promotion, she wants to be monitored. So don't think of it like, oh, I'm being monitored. That's a compliment. Hello, you watching me? Did you watch? Did you see me? You want to be seen in action, because that's your real. You get what I'm saying? That's your real response to a situation, and that real non-conscious response, that reflex that we spoke about in the faith course, needs to be strong naturally. It needs to become your natural self more and more and more. It needs to be a strong natural response to the environment and the people in the community and the people around you and the people that you're working with and your family and your friends, and more importantly, the strangers, people that you don't even expect to cross your path. It's like, all right, this person's on your path. What you gonna do? Right? What you gonna do? Is always the major question. that will determine always your next result, your next assignment. We understand the fulfillment that comes when we're able to show up and fulfill the job. Like, we must be getting invisible stickers because deep down we feel a sense of fulfillment that nothing can fill. Nothing can fill that seat, that slot. Nothing. You can try and look and find and Google and shop till you drop. Nothing can be put in that place. And you have to understand that as you're reaching your goals, to not be easily fooled and pulled over into things that aren't going to benefit you or them long term. Let's move on to 3. Limit media watching. Now this is highlighted. Save the best for last. When you're trying to strengthen your discernment, it is important. It is vital. Look, every hair on my body stood up. It is vital that you limit media watching. And we're going to go into why this is such a vital and important key factor. So fam, when you let's rewind real quick before we even jump into that. When your body goes into rest mode and you go at night and you go to sleep, everything shuts down for the most part, right? And you are refreshing. Okay, you are doing just that. Your body is charging up. When you fall asleep, you plug into an outlet. Okay, your body plugs into a spiritual outlet, right? Because obviously you don't see no cord, you don't pull no cord out the back of your pocket, and you don't plug it into the wall, right? So what happens is so obvious. It's a spiritual outlet that you plug into and you charge. And in order for you to really get that full charge, everything must be at rest. We think about when we try to charge our phone and it's on 1%, and you try to use it, and what's gonna happen? It's gonna overheat. You try to use that phone as you charge it, it's gonna overheat, right? Right. It's not gonna really get the best charge that it needs to operate at its best for the next full recharge, right? Boom. When you are limiting, fast forward, media watching, turn on my mic. When you are limiting media watching, you are staying more aligned with yourself. How? Because when you do media watch, like when you tune into a channel, you daze out. Your mind kind of gets pulled into that scene. Okay, rather it's a movie, a music video, a 15-second reel, whatever it is, it pulls you away from your story. It takes your eyes off your paper and it puts it on someone else's paper. And if the video is long enough, you daze out. Okay? So when you daze out for too long, right? So when you don't limit your media watching and you just kind of zombie out, media out, your mind just literally leaves your realm, right? No one's watching it. And you tend to whatever's happening over there. And of course, there's a way to watch something and not be fully into it. However, you got to start paying attention, right? And if something happens, like if you're watching something and action is happening and, a lot is going on, you can easily get distracted and forget and fully tune in to the show that you're watching, right? And so then once you fully tune in, you're in that dazed state. You're in that hypnosis state. And not to say someone could come and hypnotize you and no. You go on break for too long is a great way to understand it. Like if you were security at if you had to stay overnight security, let's say it like that so you can understand what's happening in the mind when you daze out. If you were a security guard for, a building that you had to stay with overnight, you get a little 15-minute break. Like, yeah, go do this and go do that. And however, you got to be ready in case something happens. Okay? So, in the spiritual world, when you daze out and watch someone else show for too long, you don't want to leave your post unattentive for too long. Definitely not while you are in this discernment space, like you're in a transition space. You're waiting for answers. You're being monitored. Your heart, you get what I'm saying? Your judgment. All of this is being monitored, right? And if you watch a show for too long that sparks, the truth in you, meaning like, how would you react? How would you respond? What would you do? How would you judge it? These are questions that's happening as you're watching something else. What's she wearing? What she has on? Like all these questions start to spark up when you start watching something else because you're trying to figure out what it is you're watching, what's happening, what's going to happen next. You start predicting. Your mind then starts going on a wheel any other space, any other scene that you're watching. And so when you start creating all that question and answer for them, again, you're leaving your post. You're leaving your post. And so now when you go back when you check back in, right? You go back into your realm. Now you have to check yourself. Like, okay, how's my heart rate? How's my fear rate? How's my decision-making rate? How's my confidence? Those are things you have to check, because when you check back in, if you don't check that with yourself, it's gonna mess up the analytics over there. Cause now you done went through a whole, scary house, you're all shaken up and nothing's happening in your real world. Yet you created all these emotions, you developed all these, you know what I'm saying? You done spark, your energy started sparking, your heart rate, you done got scared, you watching Jason, Friday the 13th. So now you creating fear. Your body is still going through these motions, although when you look into your realm, nothing's happening. Nothing's happening. So you don't want to have all this confusion when you're working on something to really flourish. When you're creating visions in your own world. When you're taking that lead, definitely for the first time. When you're trying to have more control, and when I say control, I mean like when you're trying to be more self-sufficient in life and build something, you get what I'm saying? That's what I mean, more control. And not really rely on clocking in. You get what I'm saying? When you're building that, you gotta take your time and build it. Take your time and learn it. Take your time and just focus in on what you got going on. It's okay to take a break. You get what I'm saying? It's okay to, all right, let me take a little break. Let me clock out. And you get what I'm saying? It's okay to do that. Just limit. Have a limit to your clock out. So you can hear your next assignment. So you can hear your thoughts clearly. So you can hear your new ideas trying to develop and you can feed them correctly. Because we get motivation from everything around us. So what it is that you're watching, make sure it's not influencing you in your real life if it's not meant to. Definitely when we're always looking for a sign, be mindful where you're looking for that sign. Because that might not have been a sign. That could have just been something you should never even watching. What should the mom say? Turn that back on. I was watching that. No, you wasn't. No, you wasn't. You shouldn't have been. You get me? So when you're strengthening your discernment and you want to have that clarity, you want to take your time and build it up so that when you do get later on the line, you don't have to go through these big extent, like a big isolation, a big diet, a big just media dump. Like you want to know what's going on in the TV world, and you want to know what's going on in your friends' lives, and you want to know what's the new special down at the pizza shop. You get what I'm saying? You want to be involved in these activities, however, time and place. And if you want discernment more and clarity more, that is what you're going to have to sacrifice. And when you look at it, baby, I sacrifice that. I do it 3, 4, 5, 10 times if I have to. Because building this is way more, what's the word? Fulfilling. More importantly, fulfilling, this is priority. Having your priorities together and all is going to align in place. Just a few minutes ago, I had my assistant here, Maggie, and she came a little later in my journey. Like she hasn't been my assistant for like 10 years yet. She came a little later, and so I know, I'm aware that I get really excited off of little things, like little things falling together make a big difference in my life. And when I'm joyed with it, it can seem like I'm overjoyed with it. Like I'm saying, like I'm aware of the little things that I'm just like, you so excited about that. And I would express to her like, Maggie, if you was here like just 5 years ago and you saw some of the things that I literally had to deal with, you would really be probably cheesing more than me for me when I get excited about these little wins, and just having that conversation is just like enough that it's like, all right, this progress is worth it. This fulfillment is worth it. Because you keep getting fulfilled by little things that the fulfillment slot kind of stays filled continuously. Like it's like, wait, I didn't even know I was working on that. That comes with all of this growth too. Thank you. I'm so grateful. And you'll start to see your own progress. And you'll start to find your little joys that turn into big joys long term. And it's unmatched. It's unmatched, so fam. So take your time as you're strengthening your discernment, as you're building your brand, as you're building yourself back up, as you're healing your soul, which we spoke about. Healing your soul doesn't mean that something is terribly wrong with you. You just want to maintain a healthy soul, you know. And so maybe I'll start to change up that saying as we grow together too. Is like, maintaining a healthy soul is unmatched. It's the new rich. It's the new rich. Like, if I had to pick, like if Goddess came to me and was like, okay, Amelia, now it's time to pick. Now it's time to choose $1 million or a lifeless, healthy soul. The wise choice, I'm gonna take that soul over that $1 million any day. Definitely right now. Like, if I was to pick, I'd be like, healthy soul. And I wouldn't even explain myself, so I'm not even gonna explain myself. No! Be like, thank you. And it speaks for itself. The reason for the choice, it speaks for itself. So fam, listen, it's time for you to either continue or to start existing in a realm where life can just flourish for you. And I'm your host, AmeliaAdair. I appreciate you so much for tuning in, for sticking with me, and I know that this message will bring you some clarity, peace, love, and harmony. And I'm gonna see you at the next one. Bye for now.